And here we go.
Welcome to the Great Work Insights podcast by the O.C. Tanner Institute, the show that features the people, the professionals, the thought leaders, and the coolest companies. And now your host, the man navigating the discussion about the culture, the organized chaos, and the best practices that compel great work, Todd Nordstrom.
I was sitting at an airport not too long ago, a couple weeks back, waiting to board a flight when I noticed a cupcake ATM. If you haven't seen one yet, it's exactly what it sounds like. Basically, swipe your card and instantly receive a fresh cupcake. Like bakeries of the past, it made me remember the days when we used to go to the bank to get cash, which almost seems silly now with all the ATMs around. And then I started thinking about online banking and direct bill paying and all the new technologies that are allowing us to do things like swipe our smartphones to buy groceries and such. Obviously, technology has dramatically changed the way we do things in life, and the speed at which technology allows us to adapt to the new world continues to increase. And that leads me to what I want to discuss today on today's show. Education, and more specifically, online education. Consider this statistic that I read just a few days ago. Last year, a study was conducted by the American Federation of Teachers, asking participants of the study to rank their highest stressors at work. The number one answer found that 71% of those participating in the survey cited their biggest stressor as adoption of new initiatives without proper training or professional development. 71%, that's a huge number. Another stat I found fascinating came from a survey conducted by the Babson Survey Research Group, showing online enrollment growth far exceeded that of overall higher education, accounting for nearly 3/4 of all U.S. higher education's enrollment increases last year. Of course, I by no means am an expert in the education space. However, I do know that online education is growing rapidly and that there is a great demand in the corporate world where companies are trying to keep their employees in front of their chosen fields and professions. My guest today, well, I'm curious what he'll have to say about the current state of and the future of online education. Please welcome to the show Brandon Hassler, founder and CEO of Market Campus, a digital marketing school that provides hands-on training, mentorship, and curriculum to clients all around the world. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
Brandon, obviously you're an expert in digital marketing, and although I'd love to pick your brains strictly about digital marketing, I'm more interested today to use digital marketing simply as an example in the online education world. A lot of people listening today are managers and HR leaders, and they're training and development people who may or may not be concerned with digital marketing, but they are concerned with how to keep their people up to speed in their industry. Tell us a little bit about Market Campus and you recognizing the need for online education in the space.
Yeah, so I guess kind of the backstory of Market Campus, we actually started as an offline class. So it was a 9-week program. Students would show up to a physical classroom a couple nights a week, and they were trained in all of the major disciplines of digital marketing. And I saw that colleges and universities had marketing programs, but digital wasn't really a focus, even though that's where the industry of marketing is going. Mm-hmm. And for the programs that did teach digital in their marketing curriculum, they were very behind. I can't remember the source, but I remember reading somewhere that on average it takes about 2 years for a change to be made in a college curriculum, and that's just because of all the red tape that's wrapped around these schools with, boards and approval processes. It's just very slow. And digital marketing practices are changing constantly at a very fast rate. So fast that, in our industry in particular, it's tough to teach a physical class because by the time you get to the final stage of the class, some of the principles you learned early in those early weeks, they've now changed. But, time doesn't allow the instructor to go back and reteach those because they got to continue to move forward with the curriculum. And I think students recognize that trend in our current universities right now. You just kind of blow through the curriculum. So we knew that something needed to change. And as we looked, online education was always on our radar. And I love online education because I really believe it's a win-win for everyone. For us, it's obviously much cheaper for us to develop and run online courses than a physical class. We can update it on the fly. Students can go back and relearn on their own time. It's much more scalable, which is, exciting for potential investors, and you can sell it at a much lower price point for students. So not only are they saving a bunch of money compared to a very expensive 4-year degree,
sure,
but they're also able to learn on their own schedules. And often the best students are driven people, and driven people often have busy schedules. So we love how our move to online marketing has made it, online learning has made it much easier for those people to learn.
It's interesting though. Obviously digital marketing is a fast-paced change. New tools and are coming up every single day. But I'm sure there other industries are experiencing maybe not as fast, but pretty fast changes to where by the time you learn something, it's already on the way out or it's already outdated. I'm sure you're aware of better statistics about online education than I am. What is the current state of online education? Is it growing? I found that one for, the teachers, that they're stressed out, and that 3/4 it's beating higher education. What do you see in the professional space?
So yeah, the big trend that I've seen right now, and I guess it's always been the case, we have what are called MOOCs, MOOC. So that's an acronym for Massive Open Online Courses. These are courses aimed at essentially an unlimited amount of students. So you see programs like Udemy, Lynda, Pluralsight. These are platforms that have thousands of courses and consist of pre-recorded material, practice quizzes, and millions of people have used and currently use these platforms. You just do a quick search for, the state of online learning, and millions of people have gone through online courses. So it's definitely a major thing. However, there are 5, from my research at least, there's 5 major criticisms that online learning has, and it's one of the big reasons we still are predominantly looking towards physical classrooms and college educations. The first big problem, I guess you could say, with online education is because essentially anybody can get on a platform like Udemy and create a course. It's very chaotic for the student to try and figure out which course to start with. Mm-hmm. The second problem, you have to be comfortable using technology, which at this time, not everybody in society is comfortable with that. Number 3, when courses are offered for free, students usually aren't invested in them, and therefore they don't really dedicate enough time to learn, even though the criteria may be quality. And the fourth one I have is the teaching in online learning is often very one way. So it's pre-recorded videos,
sure,
reading, quizzes, and all that. So it's kind of up to the student to interpret what exactly is being taught, which for a topic, it's not just marketing. There's a lot of complicated topics that can be interpreted different ways, and it's really up to the students. That's one. And then the last, and I would say the biggest criticism of online learning is the high number of drop-off rates that these online courses are experiencing. And that's just because people in today's world still aren't disciplined enough to learn online, set a schedule of when they're going to learn, set goals of completing certain chapters and whatnot. So the drop-off rates are astronomically high compared to something like a college program, which, colleges are getting higher and higher dropout rates, but not anything compared to online learning. So that's kind of the big state. I think it's growing. We can talk more about the future, but the current state, it's amazing what's out there, but I think there's a lot of areas that we need to improve on.
Well, is there a way to predict the future of online education and training?
So I would say 2 things have to happen. 2 things have to happen, and I believe 2 things will happen. First, society needs to and will become more comfortable with technology. Take video chat, for example. Even though it's been around for years, most people still feel a little awkward communicating over a video chat. Mm-hmm. And I believe that as technology gets better and as society becomes more used to communicating digitally, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with video chat. And we're starting to see, I mean, in our current, when we made the big switch to online, the quote-unquote, the older generation was a little bit more standoffish, where they prefer the physical classes. And we see a lot of millennials love it because, I'm already FaceTiming with my friends. I'm already doing video chat. So I think as the younger generation continues to grow, we're going to see more people comfortable with that. And that kind of brings us to the second thing that must and will happen. Online learning has to be more interactive. A lot of people are learning online on their own with no problem, and that's going to become more common. However, I believe there's always going to be a big group of people who need some hand-holding when they are learning, whether they're learning a trade for the very first time or they work for a company and they're just trying to brush up on their skills. They need someone to talk to and bounce questions and ideas off. So we can't just slap videos and quizzes together and expect every person to learn on their own. And at Market Campus, we like to think that we're leading that change. So along with our online courses, we also have what we call mentorships. And it's where students can pay a little bit extra, and they have one-on-one video chat sessions every single week with their own personal mentor who happens to be a digital marketing professional. And in those sessions, they discuss the students' goals, their questions, the problems they're going through. And when we ran our physical classes, we noticed that the students who were showing up 45 minutes early to class to chat with the instructor, they were getting way more out of that 45 minutes than they were in the 3 hours of class. And that's because they were getting help with their questions, their problems, their goals. So we wanted to capture that same environment, I guess, that same one-on-one attention and make it accessible from your own home. So I think that's kind of where the future goes, is we have to absolutely get more interactive, because the big criticism I hear, not necessarily criticism, kind of the excuse I hear from some people who haven't quite taken the dive to do a Market Campus course is, I prefer a physical classroom because I like interacting with the instructor. And I think there's definitely value in that. And I think we can make that happen online. It just hasn't happened yet. And I think a large part of that is just it's extra work. And a lot of companies don't want to put in that extra work to deliver that one-on-one attention to students.
Sure. The perfect evolution would be to address all learning styles, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, Brandon, I want to ask you a question that's directly to most of my audience today. They're managers who may be a small team of 8. The listener today might be a CEO, or may oversee a large company, or a training director or training and development professional. She might be wondering how this discussion can help her and help elevate education within their organization. What advice do you have for people who are sitting there going, I don't even know where to start, or I've started, but like you mentioned earlier, that I can't seem to get people to stay in it. What's your advice to companies?
So we work with a lot of companies who actually use Market Campus to supplement their internal training for their marketing teams. And again, I realize that everybody listening isn't in digital marketing, but I think the principles apply. We know that managers often have a lot of responsibility, and training, in my experience in the past, is very repetitive, and it's often very time-consuming. And your time could be better spent making the company more money instead of training new employees constantly or updating their teams. So the most common way that these companies are using online education, such as Market Campus, is the manager may assign their team some chapters within our course or another course, depending on what the discipline is, and then meet with them at the end of the week to discuss what they've learned, answer their questions, talk about how they're going to apply that information to their company or to their clients. And the results, from what I'm being told from the companies, are awesome. And I believe that by embracing online education in our companies, you not only free up your time as a manager, but you're keeping your employees in learning mode, which I believe is absolutely critical to have a successful culture, a growing company. The worst marketers are the ones who I feel they kind of think they know it all and they stop learning. And you might be able to get away with that in a field like, I don't know, mathematics, but marketing is changing way too fast for you to not always be learning. And there's many other trades outside of marketing that are in that same category. And so another big reason we moved online was because we recognized that a good digital marketer has to be able to learn in an online environment. And we're seeing that with other professions as well. And that's where they're going to be learning for the rest of their professional lives. They may have gotten their degree at a university or they learned in an online course. But even when they get into that full-time job, whether they're a new employee or a manager, they're going to have to develop their own skills, and that's often through reading blog posts, participating in online communities or forums. Like, that's learning, and that's all happening online. So we're all using technology, and in many ways, and I'm sure you agree with this, we're all marketers. You've probably heard it said before, if you're online, you're an online marketer, whether it's posting content to a Facebook page, which generates a conversation among your friends, or maybe you're sprucing up your LinkedIn or your LinkedIn profile to look nice for that next potential employer, or simply convincing your boss to buy into an idea through an email message. It's all marketing. It's all happening online. And so it's only natural for education to follow that same path. And I think we'd be idiots to ignore that trend. And when I talk to companies, the biggest concern I get, I think there's a lot of ego at play. And for a manager or for like an HR trainer, that's their job. And to many of them I talk to, initially they feel very threatened by online education. And I don't think that should be the attitude, because at the end of the day, there's still the authority within that company. And so the online training can kind of help take care of teaching the basics, but the employees are still going back to that trainer for clarification and for a greater vision on what they're learning. And so it's a win-win. I think the companies that are embracing it are growing much faster than those who are trying to, stay away from online education, because it's so big, it's growing so fast that there's just no point in trying to resist implementing online education into our companies.
Yeah, because even that trainer's job is to be a marketer to the employees and say, this is how it's going to benefit you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Great advice, Brandon. A fascinating conversation. Hey, if listeners want to learn more about you, if they want to learn more about Market Campus, if they're realizing right now, hey, I'm a digital marketer too, and I need to spruce up, where's the best place to get in touch with you?
So if you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on digital marketing, I actually co-host a podcast called Below the Fold. So you can subscribe to that on iTunes by searching Below the Fold, or you can just visit our website at belowthefold.io. As for Market Campus, really just visit marketcampus.com, and you're going to have everything there. You learn about what we do, interact with us on social, or, of course, you can get our contact information and reach out to us. So that's marketcampus.com, and I'm always happy to answer questions. So if you are an HR manager and you're listening, even if it's not marketing, you just need some advice on how to implement online education, I'm happy to help. And again, you can get my contact information off our website.
Yeah, and for managers as well, who just might they've never explored it before, but they're saying, I got to do something, right? Contact Brandon. Thanks for your time so much, Brandon. Today it's awesome, and just thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Happy to be on the show.
What did you think of today's show? The conversation continues on www.octanner.com. Be sure to leave us a comment. Also, remember to rate, review, and subscribe to all our podcasts on iTunes. Now get out there and build something beautiful. It's your turn now.